What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ and my good buddy Rhett Lewis here today. Buck is out after a Jacksonville Monday night game, a game we're going to get into here in just a second here, Rhett. But that was a tough one last night.
Well, yeah, if you were a Jaguars fan, especially if you were one of the ones swimming in that pool late night, that's a tough way to watch an OT loss. And then to get out all soggy. But yeah, look, I thought that was a fun game. And I don't know that any of us necessarily expected Jake Browning to show up the way he did. And we'll get into all the angles of it. But man, I think I've been more impressed with certain backup quarterback performances this year than maybe any year I can remember, TJ. We've had some good ones.
Yeah, no doubt. It's the year of the backup quarterback, and we can just jump into this thing right now. So let's get into the Monday Night Football recap presented by Old El Paso, and a game that was won shockingly, I would use that word, not loosely, by the Cincinnati Bengals, a road team, no Joe Burrow. We'll get into the injury to Trevor Lawrence in a little bit, but Jake Browning, you see the numbers there, 354 yards and a touchdown, first career win. I was curious to watch the tape to see what it looked like, and it was about what I thought it would look like. It was a masterful job designing a game plan around a quarterback's skill set. And so many times in scouting, you'll be in the draft room, Rhett, and it's guys will be going, oh, he can't do this, he can't do that, and then the voice of reason will go, yeah, what can he do? Okay, let's not worry about what he can't do. Jake Browning does not have a huge arm. Okay, he's not a big physical guy, but what he can do is he can throw with timing and touch, anticipation. If you're going to get some, one-on-ones, if you're going to play zone, he's going to be able to dink and dunk and kind of pick you apart, which he did early in this game. Quick outs, swings, quick hitters, hitches. And then you play a little man coverage. I'm going to lay one right up over the top to my number one receiver in Jamar Chase and let him go get a big play. So I thought it was a really nice job of building the game plan around him. I think teams will adjust to them now that they've seen how they play with him. But when you have receivers like they have, I think they're still going to be able to generate offense.
Yeah, and look, I think the game plan can probably best be described by looking at the average depth of target with both these teams. Obviously, with Trevor Lawrence, you were pushing the ball, 11 yards average on depth of target, whereas Jake Browning and the Bengals, look, you were much lower, right? You were at 3.5 yards of target. So they were trying to keep him comfortable, keep him within his comfort zone, which is just great coaching. And it's also great discipline and efficiency from a player, kind of understanding what's being expected of him and where he can find success too. And look, he did push it down the field when he had to, as you mentioned, with the Jamar Chase touchdown, which was fantastic. But boy, they were wearing it out. Now, the other part of it that I thought was interesting was this was maybe one of the more successful Bengals rushing attacks that we saw this year. And, while Joe Mixon, was definitely a big piece of it, I don't know why it's taken this long to give Chase Brown some carries. And I know I was beating that drum all draft process long, watching him rush for 1,600 yards in the Big Ten at Illinois last year. That dude's got vision and burst. And while he may not have some of the elite traits of some of the other running backs that were coming out in the draft last year, I was shocked that he went as low as he did into the 5th round. I just think he's got a real knack for it. And I think giving him some carries, 9-10 carries a game is going to be a big deal for the Bengals moving forward, especially, with Joe Burrow out now for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I have to believe that maybe it was just concerns in pass pro of why he wasn't getting run. Usually that with a young running back, if they're not getting out in the field, that tends to be what it is. But it's another reminder this year. If you look at some of the veteran running backs who have struggled, and you look at some of these fresh legs getting opportunities and making things happen, another reminder, it's a young man's position. So get them up and running, get them out there and get those fresh legs going. So nice to see the Cincinnati Bengals do that and get it going. By the way, if you're watching this right now, wondering what the heck is going on, I am in New York. I'm in a hotel room with maybe one of the most beautiful pieces of art that I've ever sat in front of, Brett. I mean, just a lovely like piece of art.
Like all of our, loyal Move the Sticks, viewers, listeners, it makes us all long for the days of the gears back behind your home office set. It really does. Like the circles, it kind of feels comfortable. It feels like home again. So I appreciate you bringing that back for us.
Yeah, this will probably date me as someone who's a little older than you, but who had sisters. Light Bright. Used to be a toy called Light Bright that you could play with that would light up behind you. That's kind of what we've got going on here with the background.
It is.
It's a nice feel. It's a nice feel.
I mean, and speaking of lighting things up, I mean, this game provided some serious fireworks, right? I mean, it was back and forth, tie ball game, left and right. I mean, you had, I think, like it was either like 3 or 4 lead changes. There were 5 ties at one point. Then they go to OT. Jaguars start putting together a terrific drive. By the way, credit to CJ Beathard for coming in a real tough spot. Felt like with Trevor Lawrence and all the air just getting sucked right out of that stadium. When he goes down and he's, obviously in pain, needs help getting help through the tunnel. Just it had that ankle kind of stepped on by Walker Little as Trey Hendrickson was rushing, and then gets kind of wrapped up and falls up underneath with his knee caught up. But sounds like the knee's okay. It's just the ankle, and maybe not as serious as it looked initially, which is obviously going to be great news. But again, credit to CJ Beathard for coming in there. I mean, and he was really efficient. I thought they had some real juice going on that first drive of overtime, and then they end up getting backed up quite a bit and having to punt it away. But I thought both those guys, Beathard and Browning, did some pretty good things in this one. Obviously, Lawrence.
Yeah, no doubt. And like you said, hopefully it's an ankle and maybe a high ankle sprain. We'll see how long he's going to be down. One of the cool things, you see Trey Hendrickson there looked like he was praying for him as he went down there. That shows you kind of a good dude he is. But the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be in a position that so many other teams are in, including the team that they played against last night, right? And that is relying on a backup quarterback, which goes back to, the team building philosophy of what you want in your backup. Do you want a veteran who's got experience, who may be a little bit limited physically? Or do you want to try and draft a young guy in the middle rounds and kind of bet on the upside? Maybe there's a opportunity to spin him off, or he could take over for your existing starter with starter traits, starter tools. I just know, man, I think you're going to see the impact of this year and this upcoming offseason of teams really investing in that position. And because you're allowed to carry a third now with the rule change and not costing you a roster spot there on game day, I think you're going to see teams are going to have 3. They're going to have 3. They're going to have a veteran, and they're going to have that box checked of, hey, if our guy has to miss a chunk of time, this guy keeps us competitive. And then they're going to have maybe a young guy that you're working, long-term with to develop. But the days of rolling with 2 guys and rolling the dice and then taking all your resources out of the backup quarterback position and spreading them around the rest of your team, I think this year is going to end that.
And you know what I think you'll also see, and we started to see it this last year, but that third guy is going to be a dude with a ton of experience in college football.
Yep.
And we've seen that pay off in a big way over the course of this season. With guys like Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who had a ton of starts at UCLA. I'm just going back and looking. I mean, Jake Browning started for 4 years at Washington. And that was even before the COVID situation, right? And I think we had him in the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl back in 2019. Bounced around quite a bit. But again, you understand, like, these guys have seen a lot of football, right? They're not just traitsy guys, who have started for 12 or 13 games in college and now they're going. But look, there's a place for that. But I think when you want a guy that you can have on your roster and count on, as a second or third, you're going to want that guy who's seen a lot of football and experienced a lot. Brock Purdy, again, another example of that. And we keep kind of coming back to it. Those guys with experience and starts really do matter in this league.
Our NFL Network Week 15 triple header on December 16th is set. First, we've got the Vikings heading to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals, and the Steelers and the Colts. They'll fight for the spot in the AFC wildcard picture. That's going to kick off at 4:30. And then in primetime, the Broncos head to Detroit to take on the Lions. All 3 games exclusively available on NFL Network and NFL Plus. All right, it is time for Sacks and Quarterbacks presented by Campbell's, and we are looking at the Indianapolis Colts. Rhett, this is a defense, this is a front that digging in and studying them has been fun. You see the numbers here since November. I mean, they're at the top of the league, and they've won 4 in a row. They've got lead the league in sacks, pressure percentage. They're 31st in blitz percentage. So that showed itself when you watch the tape on them. It is a front 4 that absolutely gets after it with guys with varying skill sets and sizes and dimensions. But, man, they all play with their hair on fire, man.
And it is a lot of fun to watch. And even, it's probably part of the reason why, Shaquille Leonard was kind of viewed as, look, we've got other guys that are playing really well right now. And while, he hasn't been the same player since he came back from the back injury, maybe he regains that in Philadelphia now. But it felt like it was an expendable piece there because you got guys like Samson Ebukam, who's got 8 sacks awesome right now. He has been fantastic. DeForest Buckner is as steady as they come. Another 5.5 sacks there. Deo Adengbo, 6.5 sacks. I mean, like, they are getting contributions all over the place from those players. Kwity Paye is playing like a first-round edge rusher right now, too. And then Zaire Franklin has been fantastic in the run game, kind of holding down that second level, that we associated with Shaq Leonard for so many years. So, like, they've just got dudes out there. Kenny Moore is playing some really good football too. As you see, number 23 pick off a pass right there on your screen. Had a couple of pick sixes as you saw in that Carolina game. Like, they're getting contributions from guys who I think that, they were counting on to be big contributors, and then others that have maybe stepped up and contributed even more and have exceeded expectation, which is always the sign of a good unit front to back.
Yeah, it's a fun group to study. I mean, there's defensive lines that the tape is just, you kind of kick your feet up, and we saw 2 of them play last week with San Francisco and Philadelphia, those attacking fronts. This is another one. And it's a team that's built for their stadium, playing indoors. Think about the old Colts defenses when they were rolling with Peyton Manning. You had Freeney and Mathis rolling off the edge, speed. Well, Ebukam, he is a missile coming off the edge. He can convert speed to power. The effort is outstanding. He explodes off the snap each and every time when you watch him. Kwity Paye not only has some of that quickness, but, man, he gives you real power. You'll see, kind of that little shake bull move that he has. That's kind of his patented move. You go back through and study Buckner. Buckner might be kind of the most underappreciated superstar in the league. Like, he's not. There's good players, there's great players, and then there's that elite tier. He's up there. And if you're a defensive tackle, if you're a high school, college defensive tackle, and you want to study somebody who uses their hands, nobody does it better than he does. With his ability to pop and separate, his ability to swim blocks. He is a technician who also just happens to be a giant. By the way, Rhett, before we go through the rest of these guys that I was going through here, can we take a second and just remember that Buckner was on that Niner team? If somehow they had been able, if they would have been able to see the future, right, and known that they were going to be able to hit on a 7th-round quarterback that was going to free up all this money to allow them to do different things, they could have kept DeForest Buckner. Is that crazy? Although saying that after his replacement had the best game of his career last week, it was finally got a good game for his replacement last week.
And on DeForest, like, I think for most interior defensive players, we're seeing him play 30 to 35 snaps usually a game. This guy plays 65 snaps a game. Like, that's incredible on the interior to provide that kind of to make that kind of impact that consistently from start to finish. And then Grover Stewart up there as well, kind of providing some of the bulk on the interior.
Yeah, Odiangbo is a fun study because someone who, if he doesn't get hurt in the going into that draft process, probably is a top 15 pick. I mean, he was trending in that direction, in a freakish length. And now you're seeing it really come together. And again, having the chance to sit there and play alongside DeForest Buckner, who can work with him and teach him, I think it's been incredibly valuable. I mean, there's guys that are long, and then you watch him on tape, and you're like, that is not normal. Like, he is freakishly long, and he is quick and explosive. Tyquan Lewis plays with big effort. You mentioned Grover Stewart. I mean, it's not like they have a 14, 15 sack guy, but you mentioned some of the numbers. When Ebukam's got 8, Paye's got 7.5, Odiangbo's got 6.5, Buckner's got 5.5. They're second in the league in sacks. So the number is big, and they're coming in bunches as of late. So I give Shane Steichen a lot of credit for what he's been able to do, on kind of the theme of the backup quarterbacks, which has been one of the unfortunate themes of the year. He's kept them competitive on offense, but on defense, that's what's driving this train. That's what's driving this winning streak.
Yeah. Yeah, sure does feel like it. And I mean, they are right in the thick of it here. I mean, they are in the playoff structure, and the AFC South is going to be, it might be the most fun division down the stretch here. If the Texans could figure out, a way to stay explosive without Tank Dell. for the rest of the way. And as long as Trevor Lawrence doesn't miss a ton of time, but there is a window now for the Colts. Make no mistake. And we talked about on the Monday pod how well some of those receivers are playing, how they're developing. Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, nice little trio there. They get their tight ends into it too. And if you can hold serve till Jonathan Taylor comes back for the fourth quarter, for a final 3-4 game push, Colts are in it, man.
All right, welcome back. It is time to do our rookie draft. We do this each and every week. And last week, it's unfortunate Bucky's not here because he could gloat a little bit after he collected 7 points in the rookie draft with Stroud, Charbonnet winning the week for their positions, getting a point for Puka Nacua. Rhett, he secured a win at the tight end position with Laporta, and then also got a second place finish with Levis. I only got 1 point for Bijan Robinson being the second running back, but Tank Dell got hurt. Okay, that's tough break. And then Bryce Young, I'm still waiting for that one. Still waiting for that good week. Yeah. Maybe it's this week. You never know. One name on there we mentioned the other day, Rhett, who's having a historical season, I guess would be properly phrased.
Sure.
Sam Laporta, he's got 9 for $140 in last week's game. And then you start looking at the company that he keeps with some of the numbers that he's posting. It's quite impressive the year he's having compared to, you go back to like Pete Mitchell with Jacksonville, you go to Jackie Smith going back to 1963, and then Iron Mike Ditka in 1961. Like he's on pace to have a monster year.
He's been fantastic, and the way he operates in the middle of the field. We were talking about this play, the outside, the motion, and then the cut back to the inside instead of on an out cut has been big. Was big on that touchdown, and then he's a stud. In the way he runs his routes, the way he's got those strong hands. Now, I'm kind of curious about this from the roster construction standpoint, and we talked about it. Brad Holmes made the decision to trade TJ Hawkinson, who a previous regime took in the top 10 of the draft when he was coming out of Iowa. I think we both loved the player that TJ Hawkinson, that we thought he could ultimately become a real gritty and physical blocker from the tight end spot. And then, a definitely plus receiver. I don't know if we got all that in Detroit. We're certainly seeing his receiving skills now in Minnesota. But the part I'm curious about, DJ, is, obviously the college staff is doing all the work ahead of time, right? You've got an idea at some point what that tight end class is going to look like. But do you feel like that was part of the discussion when Brad Holmes and that valuation staff decide, all right, let's part ways with Hawkinson. Maybe we don't want to spend that kind of money on the tight end spot. We feel really good about some of these tight ends that are coming in that day 2 range, because obviously you don't know where you're going to end up in the draft. Hey, we like, a cluster of these guys, feel like we may be able to get one of those guys that could really step in and be a more reasonable, serviceable option for us at tight end.
Yeah, I think that goes into the calculus. I was talking to a general manager the other day about, even going tight end versus wide receiver in the first round. And we've seen like this historical tight end class come in, but a lot of those guys got pushed down. And the reason being that, man, the gap between the salary for a wideout versus a rookie wideout, the savings that you can have there, it makes more sense to take wideouts in the first round versus you get a tight end in the first round. You're almost pushing up towards the top of the tight end market amongst the veteran pool. Whereas the wide receiver, you're talking about these guys getting over 20, getting near 30. And so it's a big gap there, which I think is going to lead us to a run over the next few years of second day tight ends. That's going to be, the tight ends are going to kind of be similar to the running backs, and that day 2 is going to be their day, second and third round. And then you look at the numbers there for second, third round tight ends versus the top of the veteran tight end market. There's your savings. So they were able to spin off paying a tight end on a second contract a hefty amount of money. And they were able to get out of that and replace the production with the cheap starter in the second round. So, yeah, I think that's all part of the calculus, and give Brad Holmes and crew a lot of credit there for the way they've formed this roster and built this roster up. You ready to get going?
I was going to say, like, this is working out like to be a potentially historic draft class for Detroit. And like, you think about some of the narratives, drafted an off-ball linebacker and a running back with your 2 first-round picks, and it was like, hold on now. What's going on here in Detroit? Well, they know what they want to do. They know what they want to. They know how they want to play, and it's obviously paying off for them right now. Brian Branch had a pick, and Laporta, and then obviously Campbell and Jahmyr Gibbs. So yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
yeah. All right, let's go. So producer Drew's going to get in my ear. He's going to give me Bucky's picks. So Rhett, you were going to lead us off. I'm in the 2-hole, and then Bucky's going to be picking 3 and 4 here. So go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like you just got to take a win when you're in the first, when you're in this first slot. And CJ Stroud has won the quarterback position, every week since we've been doing this. So even though he's going up against the Jets and a good pass defense there, I just feel like they don't know what they're doing at quarterback. I think CJ is going to have enough opportunities to still secure the win at quarterback. So I got to take that at number 1 overall.
I like it. I think that's smart. Good play. I'm gonna go. Golly, man, I could go in a couple different directions here, but I think I'm gonna go running back. I'm gonna go with Bijan. I'm gonna go Bijan Robinson here with my first pick. Need a big week from him this week. See if I can get back on track after a rough one for me last week. So that's my guy. One.
Bijan against that Bucks defense been pretty good, especially up front. Vita Vea and company. I mean, I like it. I don't know that I would have done differently, but it's not a high quality matchup there that you'd like to see. But nonetheless, I think it's something you had to do. What's Bucky doing?
So Bucky's got back-to-back picks. He's going to go Puka Nacua. Which was in my calculus for the last pick. So I like that one for Buck coming off a monster week this last week. I got a little dinged up, but still 100-yard game, and he's over 1,000 yards on the season. Incredible rookie year. And then he's going to go with the quarterback. He's going to go Will Levis with his next pick, which I don't know. Do we get credit for tackles? If we do, as the quarterback, forced fumbles, that could really spike the total there. But no, he goes with the quarterback. So that means I'm up next. There's no need for me to take the quarterback. There's only one left. So I can go to the pass catchers. And I think I'm going to go to the man of the hour that we just talked about. I'm going to go Sam Laporta with my spot here as my pass catcher. That leaves you up next here, Rhett.
Yeah. So, man, I think Jeffrey Simmons is going to miss a couple of weeks for the Tennessee Titans, and Devon Achane is back in the fold. Had a couple of touchdowns. The rookie runner for Texas A&M after a stint on IR and a little bit of a re-injury in his first game back seems to be back at full strength and full health. So give me Devon Achane right there as the Dolphins get the Titans in Miami. I think that's the Dolphins are going to go to work on that one. And then for my pass catcher, I was definitely looking at Sam Laporta. We could get Dalton Kincaid back into the mix here this week against the Chiefs, but I think what I like a little bit better is Zay Flowers. So I'm going to go Achane and Flowers to close out my draft.
All right, Achane and Flowers, solid picks there. Okay, now I've got a decision to make here at the quarterback position because Bryce Young has not treated me well. Unfortunately, this year I keep hoping that somehow it's going to happen. He's playing on the road against the Saints, so indoor, good environment there. Saints reeling a little bit. I could go in that direction, but I'm actually going to go Aiden O'Connell for the Raiders
against Josh Metellus.
Against Josh Metellus and company. I need Minnesota's offense to get going in a little bit of a shootout here. I'm going to go off the grid and go Aiden O'Connell as my quarterback selection. And then Bucky is going to round it up here. Last pick, he has Jahmyr Gibbs is who he's taking.
Oh, so that's a heck of a pick for the last player.
Yeah, Bucky's got a chance to have a big week with Puka and Gibbs. He could have another strong week in the rookie draft. But Rhett, this is going to wrap us up for the day, man.
Okay.
Good to be able to pull this off. I'm in New York. You're in Los Angeles. My picture's a little fuzzy. My audio's probably not great, but we get her done. We get her in. We get her done.
Hey, it doesn't matter how. It just matters that you do, and that's what we do here on Move the Sticks. Always delivering on the content front.
No question. And hey, where else would I rather be on my 46th birthday than sharing this moment together
it's your birthday?
Each other? Yeah, no. Yeah, you think Drew would care a little bit, maybe do a little research. I don't know, look up a Wikipedia page. No, it didn't happen, but I
Wow.
enjoyed this time together. This was my birthday present. It was getting to spend time with you today, Rhett. Appreciate that.
Yeah. You don't look a day over.
I'm sure the
45.
card's in the mail. I mean, no, not at all. 44, to be honest. Feel great. All right. Hey,
Cheers,
let's
buddy.
get out of here. I'll
right.
catch you guys later. Fun day, and we'll see you
Go
next
see a
time
show.
right here on Move the Sticks. Hey, it's presented by Old El Paso. Don't forget that. We'll see you next time.
Yes, it is.